So a professional salesperson is focused on how they get there, not whether or not they get there. And if they get the how right, whatever happens at the end, you may want the deal, but it turns out it probably wasn't right for you or the prospect.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Build Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. Believe the key to scaling and compounding wealth starts every single day with a mindset and practice of stewardship or ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. My name is Brett Swartz. Each and every episode, we're joined by some of the best real estate, entrepreneurial, millionaires, billionaires, and they're all going to share strategies with us so we can level up our businesses, maybe even our sales game, so we can give more all the way to help MVPs. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the UK. His name is Benjamin Dennehy, and he's your typical sales trainer. He's brutally honest, and he's going to help us all level up as owners of everything, close more deals with confidence and so much more. Please welcome to the show, Benjamin Dennehy. How are you doing?
I tell you what, people tell me I talk fast, but I think you've got the. I think you win the award. You're almost like an auctioneer. That's it's some good speed you got going on.
That is the goal. Thank you, sir. For our listeners getting to know you for the first time, and to give us a little more about your story and your current focus.
Okay, so I'm known as the UK's most hated sales trainer. And the reason is because my approach is quite counterintuitive. It's very challenging and very uncomfortable. I hold up the ugly mirror and I explain that the reason most salespeople fail, because it's all their own fault. Most salespeople are losers. Once you're willing to admit you're a loser, you can then begin the journey of getting better. And I always point out, you do this. I've been in a room full of hundreds of entrepreneurs. And I asked this question, put up your hand if when you were at school and your teacher said, what do you want to be when you grow up? How many of you said salesman? And maybe in a room of 300-400 people, you get 1-2 hands. Yeah, and it's like, so how the hell did the rest of you end up here? And it's, I needed a job. Sales is the only profession people fall into because they've got nothing else to do. This is where you go when you've got no skills, no qualifications. You failed at being a social worker. It mops up everybody. And because it's always looking for people, it's like the porn industry. It just spits people out the bottom once it's used them up. There's always room for people to be pumped into it. And so most people who are in it don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're there. They have average careers. They're constantly never making as much money as they want. And they're always blaming everyone else but themselves. So my job is to point out, that's your fault. Now learn, So that's my focus, is getting salespeople to appreciate that this is why they're failing. And they hate to hear it, but they know I'm right.
Excellent. So what is the number one most obvious mistake that salespeople are making today? Go.
Okay, so there are so many number ones, but the number one, I think, is people believe selling is the art of persuasion. It's not the art of persuasion. People think you've got the gift of the gab. It makes you a good salesman. No, it doesn't. It's not the art of persuasion. Anyone can talk anyone into doing something. That is not hard, right? But that is not necessarily a skill. So that's one of the first things. The other one is attachment to the outcome. Most salespeople are emotionally attached to the outcome. They love their product, or they love their service, or they're passionate about what they do. And the problem is they can't see the wood through the trees. And so because they're so attached to the outcome, they behave and act like somebody that is subservient and servile. Most prospects lead the sales meetings. Most prospects lead the sales process because most salespeople are too weak to take control. So a lack of control, wanting to be liked, and emotional attachment. These are the biggest reasons why people fail. And they seem ethereal, but they're easy to fix. No, they're not. That's a lie. They're hard to fix and uncomfortable to fix, but they can be fixed. I should put that to a better way of putting it.
Okay, excellent. I like that. Okay, what's the number two biggest mistake that people are making?
Number two biggest mistake that people are making, what would I say is the second one? Well, actually, I didn't know you were going to ask me three in a row. So we got trying to be like detachment to outcome. You could tie that into together, right? The other one is not having control. Control is the fundamental key into selling. And if you're good at selling, you control the process from start to end. Most salespeople are reactive. They respond to a prospect. Are you going to ask me for a third?
No, that's really good. I like all of that. And what that makes sense. Okay, so attachment to the outcome, trying to be liked.
Let me put it this way. This makes it easier because I trained as I'm a former lawyer or an attorney, as you'd say in the US. And why do you hire a lawyer? You hire a lawyer, A, because they know the law and they know what they can navigate the legal system, the process. But the main reason that you need a lawyer is because they have no emotional attachment to the outcome. I don't care if you're guilty of murder. Yeah, it's not my job to judge you. I'm your advocate. I'm going to go in and argue to the court that you're one of the most honorable, decent human beings I have ever met, and that the evidence against you does not support a charge of murder. And I may know that you've done it, and that limits what I can do, but nonetheless, I still go in and present the best case for you. Now, part of me wants to win because I'm competitive. Another part of me says, I don't care if I lose. This guy deserves to go to prison. So as long as I do my job competently, as long as I do it to the best of my ability, whatever happens at the end, I don't care. Because as long as I've done my job, and if I get you off, I'll be, yay, I got him off. I'm great at what I do. But part of me will be, God, sometimes you just want to lose, right? And another time is if we lose and my guy goes to prison, it's like, well, good, he deserved it. And the other great thing is I did my job properly. This guy can't sue me for negligence or incompetence because actually I put forward the best possible defense this man could have. Selling is the same. You are an advocate for your product, but you shouldn't care what happens at the outcome of a meeting. Everybody wants a sale, but a salesman's job isn't to get every person they meet to buy from them. Because this is when you end up taking on crap clients, crap customers. You know, the customer that says, well, can you just do this? Or if we could negotiate this, they become the worst customers. They give an inch, they take a mile. So a good salesman is looking for people who will buy on their terms and their conditions and both walk away satisfied. That is the skill of selling. It's not getting someone to give you money. That is not hard to get money off of somebody. So a professional salesperson is focused on how they get there, not whether or not they get there. And if they get the how right, whatever happens at the end, you may want the deal, but it turns out it probably wasn't right for you or the prospect. And that's what creates it ethically as well.
Okay, so I think I refer this to as elves versus haves, right? Elves are easygoing, loving, and fun clients, right?
Yep.
Haves are hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating.
Yeah.
Right. And you almost know within the first 5 to 10 minutes of talking with somebody, maybe the first 30 to 90 seconds, right?
Yep.
Is it going to be a hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, ongoing experience? Or is this going to be easygoing, loving, and fun? And we can be honest, open, transparent, discuss and solve problems together. Okay. So that makes sense. Disconnecting the emotional attachment to the outcome.
Yep.
And detaching the trying to be liked, just doing the best you can to advocate for your thing that you're selling. Okay, what else? What's the next secret to being the number one salesman in the world?
Okay, now this may sound counterintuitive, but this is a real skill. It is the art of not answering a question. Now, I know that sounds bizarre, but there's a reason behind it. Now, first thing I want to caveat when I say don't answer a question, what I mean is, first of all, I don't mean be a politician. A politician has a particular way of dealing with a question. Are you going to raise taxes? Well, we're going to do a wholesale review of government. No, Minister, are you going to raise taxes? Well, if you'd let me finish, what we're going to do is we're going to conduct a review. Are you going to raise taxes? Look, I can't give an answer one way. It's, oh, you're frustrated. Because they're deliberately obfuscating. So that's not what I mean. What I mean is that in the real world, 99% of the time when you're asked a question, it's never the real question. It's always a smokescreen. So when somebody says to you, now this may be bizarre, I use the most basic example to give you a really simple example. Say you're in a sales meeting and somebody says, well, where are you guys based? Now that seems like the most innocuous question. How can answering that question cause me any harm or damage? But this is it. You don't know. So your prospect says, so where are you based? And I say, London. And the guy goes, I hate London. I don't want to work with anyone from London. Oh, God, I hate, no. Now, I know I'm being extreme, but this is just to demonstrate the principle. So a good salesperson hears a question, and rather than jumping into answer, they seek qualification. So where are you based? Now, this may seem weird, but you can scratch your head, because selling is the art of acting as well. You scratch your head and you go, so when you say where are we based, what do you mean? Now, that seems like the bizarrest thing. People say, you can't ask somebody, what do you mean when they say, where are you based? Well, there are two reasons why you can. Number one, every human being has been programmed that they have to answer a question. So if somebody asks me a question and I come back with one, I know they're going to answer. I know that for a fact because that's how they were raised. We were all raised. You must answer a question when asked. So if somebody says to me, "Where are you based, Benjamin?" I go, "Sorry, when you say where am I based, what do you mean?" And then they say, "Well, are you nearby or are you based in London?" They expand on what they mean. They'll go, "Well, we want to work with somebody local." So that's a typical answer. Where are you based, Benjamin? So when you say where am I based, what do you mean? Well, ideally, we'd prefer to work with somebody local. Now, then I can go on with the next. Sorry, when you say local, what do you mean? Well, we're based in Birmingham. Oh, right. Okay, so if I told you I was based in London, I get the feeling you're going to tell me you can't work with me. See, I haven't answered. It's the form of a question. So now the process. So the purpose of this is my job as a salesperson is to gather information because this is my meeting. I'm trying to determine whether or not you should be my next customer or client. And this is a script flipped. Most salespeople are going in there trying to impress the prospect on why you should buy from us. A good salesman is saying, "Hey, look, buddy, I don't need to convince you of why you need us. We've built a whole business, got a $50 million business. Everything behind me in this warehouse bloody works. I know because we've built a business. So I'm not here to convince you why you should buy from us. I need you to convince me why we should sell to you. Why should we let you have the solution to your problem?" Now that flips the script, and you can't do that if you spend your whole time answering questions. And the reason you answer them is because you're seeking people's approval. You're trying to demonstrate to them how smart you are, what you know, your knowledge. All of this is your attempt to be liked. You're called it's being professional and demonstrating credit. No, it's not. It's your weakness because you don't know how not to answer a question. So mastering the art of answering every question with a question is really tough. And like I say, I teach this, and the amount of business let me put this. The conversations you will start having if you answer every question with a question will blow your mind. And one last point on this. I'm not doing it so I don't have to give an answer. I'm doing it to find out why they've asked so that when I do give my answer, I know what's going to happen. Make sense? So let me give you a real life example. I work with a big insurance group, got in front of the board. The CEO turned to me and said, "Benjamin, I have a question for you." I said, "Sure." He goes, "Have you ever worked in the insurance sector?" Now, the answer out of context was no. I'd never worked with an insurance company before. So I got to do everything. I said, "So when you say," I said, "Well, what do you mean exactly? Have I worked in the insurance sector?" He goes, "Now, because I know the first question's a smokescreen." So he then has to answer. And he goes, "Well, what I mean is, this is a very regulated industry. My concern is if you don't understand that and how we are legally obligated to sell, I'm worried that you may not be able to help us." I said, "Okay, that makes sense. Okay, can I ask one last question?" He goes, "Yes." I go, "So are you telling me that even if you genuinely believe I could help you, if I don't have insurance experience, we can't work together?" Now it's his problem. He goes, "Well, no, I'm not saying that. No, if I genuinely believe, then no, that wouldn't be a barrier. If I believed you could help me. Okay, well then I'm going to be upfront with you. Look, I'll be honest. I said, I've never worked with an insurance company before." I said, "So I get the feeling you're going to ask me to leave." He said, No. Like I said, if by the end of this meeting I'm convinced that this could work, then that won't be a barrier." I ended up getting the deal, and we've been working together. We've been working together for 18 months. Now, the purpose of that was to demonstrate that he asked and answered his own objection. That's the skill of a great salesperson. I'm not qualified to answer objections.
Benjamin, let me pause here because I think I love this, and I think I'm catching this, and let me know if I'm catching this correctly, right? Yeah. It seems like, or it sounds like, when I answer the question, especially the first question directly, essentially you're losing all control, all leverage, and essentially you're closing the door to that prospect because now they're looking for reasons to get out of the whole thing and shut down, right? And just get out of the meeting, right? And so, and the second thing is it's almost like a doctor you walk into a doctor's office and the patient, asks the question and the doctor just gives this straight answer without doing this discovery and the deep dive. They don't even know the context of which the question's coming from. And so it sounds like you answer a question with the question in order to gain and pull out more information so that you can properly give them an answer, A, but B, you're also in between. I love that. You said, even if you genuinely believe that I can help you, right? you wouldn't hire me if I didn't, if I hadn't worked in the insurance industry. And all of a sudden, it's like you're opening a new door. Well, if I generally believe you can help me, that's going to trump the smaller door of the insurance. And now I've got a new pathway to the sale. Is that a fair summary?
It is. And what I'm doing is I'm putting the pressure where it belongs. This isn't my problem. This is yours. Right? So if he's come back and said, yes, actually, if you've not worked in the insurance sector, we have a company policy that says we can't work with you. We may have hit what we call a red light. This meeting could end in the next minute. Why would I spend another 40 minutes trying to convince someone, as traditional salesman, you should buy from me, when we've already discovered there's a red light that can't move?
Can I ask you a real deal? Because this is a real sale I'm in right now. It's actually a very large transaction. And I have our team members out there and different strategic alliances that are kind of teeing up the deal, and they're bringing me into this call. And it's a little bit of, they're bringing me into like the third call, ish, but I'm still kind of the closer, if you will, right?
Yeah.
But I'm coming into it, and they tee up the objection up front, and they say, well, so-and-so's attorney, he's very skeptical on what you guys provide. They're not sure if it's going to work, and and he has all these questions and all these things. And just before we get going on this, like that's a big thing. And I'm like, okay. And so I said, well, is the attorney going to come on the call with us? Is he going to come to the table? He's not willing to sign the NDAs and different things. And so now all of a sudden it's like, we're starting this call up front. And so I quickly said, it sounds like this is what's going on. Basically, what are we doing here if what you're saying, Mr. Prospect, is that you're not going to move forward unless the other person, over there, somewhere else on the Yellow Brick Road over there, right? We don't know where he's at, who's saying the things behind the curtain, and he won't come to the table. So part of me was like a little bit frustrated because I'm scheduled for this call to go for an hour, and he has all these other questions, but he's already said up front that he's not going to move forward unless this person says yes, but this person is not on the call. And so I'm kind of going in circles. And so I pressed him on it, and I might have maybe pressed him too hard. At least I thought maybe I did.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that when someone says the person over there has all the power and they're not here yet, and maybe they won't show up, but let's spend the next hour talking about all of this stuff?
Okay. So this is difficult because you've dropped me in the middle of a scenario as well. And often most problems in sales happen downstream, but they're felt upstream. And this is normally, goes back to earlier in the process of when you determine who the decision makers are and how they're going to go out making a decision. And it's getting that dealt with up front. So I'm up front. So if I get in front of a CEO for the first time, I'll say, hey, can I ask you a question? Other than you, who else is going to be involved in making this decision? A lot of the times they say, no, it's just me. Because CEOs think that. Well, I'm the boss and I sign it, but you sign off on things. But this isn't North Korea. You don't run your country as a one-man band, You've got these highly paid executives around you that give you advice. So I go, no, I appreciate that. I go, can I be upfront with you? In my experience, and I've sold a lot of sales training in at this corporate level, sir, usually the CEO needs to run this by his business development director, his HR director, and normally his financial officer. Are you telling me that you don't have to do that if you believe you want to move forward? And he goes, well, no, obviously I'm going to run it by. I go, so can I ask you a really, really direct question? If your finance director says no, but you want to do this, I go, who wins? Oh, it's a great question because they go, that's a good, who wins? I go, yeah, who wins? Well, I do. Okay, I said, I like you, a tough guy. I go, but why would you go against the advice of your highly paid finance director? Well, that's a good point. I go, so can you ask a question then? What sort of objections or challenges do you think they're going to raise in order to prevent you making this decision, do you think, based on experience? And sometimes they start to tell you, they're going to say this. Okay, so can I ask you a question? Would it not make sense to have that person involved in the conversation? So the job is controlling this from the very beginning. And the problem is when you get all these third parties suddenly having to be brought in that you didn't know about or weren't there, it's because you failed in your job earlier to extrapolate that information. Most people are scared to have this level of conversation with you. You can't ask a CEO that. You can't ask him who wins. This is fear. So hold up. This guy ain't better than me. He's my equal. No, he's not even my equal. He needs my help. He's in a worse position than me. So this is a mindset. And that mindset determines your behavior. And most salespeople don't have the mindset of a CEO. They have the mindset of someone trying to convince someone better than them why they should. And no. I don't care who you are. I'm here because you need me. I don't need you. So this is my meeting, my rules. You answer my questions. Now, again, I'm being quite flippant and blunt here. I don't want people watching this. Well, this is how Benjamin acts. I don't act like this in the real world. This is performative podcasting, right? But it's getting the principle across. This is about utter control, and salespeople hate it. There are two reasons they hate it. Most are wimps. They went into sales because they thought it would be easy, and the other one is they don't know how to do it. They don't have the skill set how to challenge someone, and they're scared of losing something they never had, which is pathetic. I have never lost a sales deal. Never lost one. The only way you can lose a sale is if someone gives you money and then takes it back. That's when you've lost a sale. You've never lost a sale. We lost the deal. I always ask, well, when did you have it? Tell me the moment you had it. No, yes, I shut up. You failed at getting the deal. Yeah? So this is why people hate me, because they know I'm right. They know what I'm saying is true, but they hate this because this is the ugly mirror, and it's all your fault. You're an idiot. You spent an hour talking to this human being and failed to get the basic information to figure out if we can move forward. So I get passionate about this because
I love it. Absolutely. By the way, if you guys want to get going and get started, you can go to salesmatrixcourses.com. That's salesmatrixcourses.com. Mr. Benjamin Dennehy's Sales Matrix Courses. Take back control of the sales process.
Yep.
Join the Sales Matrix Courses. Unlock everything a salesperson needs to earn more. I'm loving it. You know, I grew up in a cold calling, you know, really brutal commercial real estate,
Yep.
California real estate. 100% commission, no benefits, no safety net.
Yep.
You're just going to sink or swim. And the crash of the market, weeded out a lot of people. I actually had to get side hustles, Cheesecake Factory, medical sales jobs, all of it. I mean, all led into Salesforce. But I'll never forget pounding through all of these things. Right. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
So okay. I want to make it about me and make it about me, right? This is too good. This is too good, right? So I'm in this call, right? And I'm sensing that this guy's waffling because I've seen others waffle about this attorney or this CPA, and this is millions of dollars of tax. I mean, this is not a small thing. And what's his objection? And I'm actually asking a little bit of these kind of things, but am I? What am I to do there? And by the way, there's like 6 other people on this call, and they're all listening in. And I'm also wanting to like coach them up basically by my actions on this thing. And so I think I got a little bit, I had some of the passion going too. Like, hey, like this thing has thousands of transactions, billions and billions of assets sold using it. We've had over 2.5 dozen audits. I've seen attorneys and CPAs from all over say this thing doesn't work, and then they come in and it works. Like, what's stopping this guy from coming on a call with us to spend some time with us? And what is it about him? Is he a tax attorney or a CPA himself? No, he's not. He's not even in the area of a tax law. So what is it about? I'm trying to uncover some of these things. I can tell the guy's getting a little bit, he's feeling like he's losing the control. I think that's what he's feeling, right? And I can sense that. And so what am I to do to how do you land the plane here, right? Okay, so yeah, he does need to approve it. He says, yes, I want him to approve it. Great. Do I keep having this call while everyone's still on there? Do I just say, let's stop here, let's have that call first, and let's, he wants to see the numbers, he wants to see the other things, right? Which I'm fine to share, but I'm just trying to sense of how do I keep control in a positive way without wasting my time on something that I have no control over. This guy just, wasting all of our time at the very end saying no.
Okay, so again, this will frustrate maybe you and your listeners, but again, you've got to go back earlier in the process. So the horse is kind of bolted now. So I'm not a magician. I can't pull stuff out of my hat and just fix every scenario, because often it's what's happened earlier. So if this is something in your world, do you experience the attorney issue more often than not?
It's very common that there's this third-party attorney or advisor that's behind the curtain that's saying the things, and it's like, well, bring him to the call. Yeah, keep going. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. So when you have something that occurs more often than not, one of the things I teach, which is very powerful, and all my clients say it works a treat. The great thing about prospects is they will argue with you at the beginning of the process. And what I mean by that is prospects follow a particular system, and they want to invite you in. And I call it the sales matrix. That's what I call it. It's like the film The Matrix. We're all trapped in a sales algorithm, and we don't know we're in it until I show you it. And then when you see it, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And there are two types of people: those that want to go back into the matrix because it's comfortable, and this is the way I've always told. And then there's those that say, I can't go back in. If I go back in, I know I'm living a lie. I can't live like this. So I'm for people that want to take the red pill, right? And when I show them the matrix, and so the matrix is 4 parts to it. The first thing any prospect's going to do is deceive you. I'm allowed to lie to you as a prospect. It's my right. And I know that because that's what my mum and dad taught me. I grew up watching mum and dad buy, and they would always lie to salespeople. Dad always said, I need to talk to my wife. And then when you get home, they'd never raise it. You say, Dad, ain't going to talk to mum about buying the new VCR? Oh, no, son, I just said that to get rid of the salesman. Oh, the phone rings. Dad answers. Hello? No, she's not in. Click. Who was that, Dad? Sales call. Oh, right. So my whole life, I was taught it's okay to tell deception. And so I don't say lie, I say deceive. Because as a prospect, I deceive by embellishment, by exaggeration, by understating, by downplaying. So how much is your budget? We got about 80,000. Knowing you'll go to 100, maybe even 120. So everything's a game. So the first thing I know is if their lips are moving, it's a half-truth. The second step is, as a prospect, I want what you have. There's just one caveat. I don't want to pay for it. If I can get a solution to my problem without paying, I will do it. So my next step is to lie to you to get you in. Very interested in what you do. Really keen to understand more about what. This is definitely something we've been looking into. So they get you in, and then they spend the next hour, I call it brain raping. They just pump you full of questions, and you give them the answers to their questions. Can you do this? Can you do that? How do we do it? Who have you worked for? How would it take? What do you expect? How much would it cost? Can you give us some timelines? What would you predict would happen if this has happened? Is this the sort of thing you'd recommend? How many other people have done? And you're answering because you think by answering, you're demonstrating your expertise. And you're getting your jollies off. This is the bit the salesman loves. They get to vomit all over people. It's like being in a German nightclub, right? So, and then once you've finished pumping them for information, they finish pumping you. The meeting comes to that natural crescendo. It starts to end. And at this point, every salesperson does the same thing. They try and close. So, Mr. Prospect, how do you want to move this forward? What's the next step? How do you see us? And at that moment, the prospect has their third step. It's called the mislead. Suddenly, 3 things happen: stalls, objections, or higher authority. Look, guys, if this were up to me, I'd buy today, but I've got to go run this by my lawyer, my chiropractor, my chiropodist, my dentist. Suddenly there's all these third parties. That's not, but when we spoke on the phone, you said you were the decision maker. Oh yeah, I sign off, but I don't do this on my own. So that's the higher authority. Or they do stalls. Well look, it's great, guys. This is definitely something we're interested in. Obviously, budgets aren't going to be set until next quarter. This will be something we'll be looking into. Okay. And then the third one is objections. Well, interesting, but we met with ABC company and they can do this and they can do that and they're better at this and they're cheaper at that. What makes you different? So you get stalls, objections, a higher authority. And then the next thing they do is, look, I'm not finished with you. I've got what I think I need, but I may not have enough. So I tell you what, you couldn't document your stupidity for me, could you? And you go, what do you mean? You couldn't send me a proposal. You couldn't send us a document detailing everything we've discussed in the last hour. And you think, oh yeah, of course. Salespeople go, how was the meeting? It was good. Why was it good? Oh, they liked us. Yeah, and? We've got to do a proposal. Of course. No one asked for proposals that aren't serious, so you spend the next day drafting a proposal, young man. So you send this proposal or whatever it is off, and then what happens? So say this, I love this. You send it on a Wednesday. You send it in the afternoon, 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, via email, obviously. It gets to Thursday, you think, well, I can't call now, it looks too needy and desperate. So it gets to Friday, and you think, I'll leave it till Monday. Got to give them a couple of days. See, this is what's going on in the head of the salesperson. Monday comes around, can't do it in the morning, looks a bit sad and pathetic. So Monday afternoon, you just drop them a quick email. Hi, just touching base, just wanted to see if you got our proposal. Yeah, because for some reason, email didn't work, right? Yeah? But yeah, this is the one time it never worked, yeah?
Yeah.
So you send it, and you get nothing. You get nothing. And then you think, okay, I didn't hear it. On Tuesday, you try phoning. No answer. Wednesday, you try phoning. Damn it, I don't get it. I don't understand. I was so keen last week. Where have they gone? So now you think, f this bastard. So you start phoning from different numbers. I'm going to catch him. I'm going to get this guy off guard. So now you're phoning at 7 in the morning from a different number, trying to get back in front of somebody that said, I love you. And then you finally get a hold of this person. And you hear their voice. That, And then they've got a list, a Rolodex. Oh, look, I haven't had a chance to look at it. Yeah, look, we've decided for now to put the project on hold. Actually, I'm going on a holiday, and I've just got to. There's all these 101 excuses on why they've not had a chance to look at this document. And no, that's okay. That's okay. I don't want to put any pressure on you. That's all right. I get it. This is their life. It's pathetic. They're losers running around trying to get back in front of somebody. It's just sad. And this is their life. And they do this 10 times a month. And somebody buys. And when somebody buys, yes, I'm brilliant. Look at me. I'm a closer. No, you're not. I'm not. You're what? You had no control here. This is dumb luck. The only thing you can do is screw up the deal. So this is why I say that it's hilarious, because when you see it, it's so. Every CEO says you've just described our sales cycle. See, I know, because this is how we all do it, and it's wrong. So going back to your original point.
Yes.
If you have an issue that's constantly coming up, you raise it right at the beginning of the whole sales process. So I do this in the first meeting. I have a whole thing that I do, but there's what I call pulling pins. And I will say, because I only try to meet senior decision makers, this is the other thing. If you're not meeting senior decision makers, you're screwing up. And so I'll be in front of the CEO. I go, look, before we start, can I tell you the 3 reasons we're not going to work together, even if you want to? No one ever says no. Nah. They all say yes. And so now I will tell them. So in your case, I'd say this. So the number 1 reason we are not going to move forwards is this. Your attorneys are going to say no. Your attorneys are going to find something in the detail of our agreement that they're not happy with, and they're going to probably raise this after we've had 7 or 8 meetings. So let me ask you a question. Can you think of any reason why your lawyers in your experience were, well, they could be this, it could be. So why don't we do this then? Whilst we're going through our conversation, would it not make sense for your attorneys to review the agreement now so that they can raise any objections before we get further down the line? Because if they raise an objection, it's a deal breaker. Don't both of us want to know that early? So this is about control. Yeah, and you say, company, and this is a great thing. You go, it's company policy. Our lawyers won't let us move forward unless your lawyers say yes. Company policy. We got lawyers too. But this is their job, right? You have to control it from the beginning. Yeah, so in my world, I say, my 3 reasons are: 1, I'm expensive; 2, do you know how long it takes to get good at what I teach? And 3, most of your guys are going to hate it and probably want to quit. So knowing that, do you still want to have a conversation with me? And it's amazing how they'll argue with you how none of those apply to them. This is the great thing with a prospect. They will argue with you. No, that won't be a problem. Our lawyers aren't that bad. That, very rarely do they throw up objections. No, I appreciate that, sir. So that's a good thing. So why don't we, so are you okay then with us sending to your attorneys the agreement for them to start looking at now? And they'll say, yeah, sure. That's how you control it. It's too late once the horse is bolted. It's dealing with things earlier. Control.
This is so good. You mentioned 3 things. I'm expensive. I said, and you said something they're gonna hate it. Was the third one? What was the middle one?
It takes. Do you know how long it takes to get good at what I teach?
Yeah.
This is a 1 or 2 day dog and pony show, right? This is months, maybe years of hard work. And 3, most of you guys are gonna hate it and probably quit.
Yep.
Do you know? And everyone argues with me. Well, that doesn't apply to me. I go, what do you mean? Look, Benjamin, £50,000 isn't a lot of money. I go, yes, it is. They go, we turn over 50 million. All right, okay, I see you. They're doing all the convincing. I'm not paid to convince. It's not my job.
You know what's interesting? What I love about this, Benjamin? I created a document that says the 50 questions you must basically ask us. And these are objections and questions and concerns. Here it is. Here's all the questions. I give them the document. Read it, and it's almost like pick the top 3 that I know that are going to come up and say, hey, let me ask you a question before we get down the deal here, right? I'm going to tell you the 3 reasons why you're not going to want to do this. Can we start there?
Shall I tell you the 3 reasons?
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to work together, even if you want to. That's important, even if you want to.
Even if you want to,
Even if you want to. So what we're saying is, so even if you want to do this, Mr. CEO, these are going to be the reasons you're not. Because a lot of people say, I want what you have, I just can't afford it. Well then, right? So I deal with it. And then you get, so then now we're also,
The problem with salespeople is they leave the hard conversations to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because they live in hope. They're hoping it won't come up. They're hoping that I'll do such a brilliant job in my dog and pony presentation and using my skills of persuasion that none of this will be an issue. But it's not. I live in the real world. And the real world is people don't want to commit the time, the money, and the resources, or they don't want to make a decision. So I need to figure those out early on. Can you make a decision? Can you invest the time, money, and resources? Do you actually have a problem that I can fix? Do you accept it's a problem, and do you want to fix it? This is what I'm trying to establish in my first meeting. If I don't get that, then there's no point talking further. And that's a much better conversation than, well, why don't we show you how we believe we can help you? That's just a bullshit way of selling.
How long do you have the first meeting? Is it 30 minutes, 15, is it an hour? How much do you usually give?
I always book in an hour, but I always say, look, when we agreed this meeting, we set aside an hour. If you got a hard stop, and most say, well, maybe, depends. Okay, well, look, we'll be within the hour, but if it ran over, yeah, look, I could run over 10 minutes, 15, fine. Most of my meetings, because, well, look, it goes back to this principle. What is the number one thing everybody loves talking about?
Themselves.
Exactly. So when you get good at asking questions, they get the prospect to only talk about themselves. Guess what? These meetings start getting longer and longer because they do all the talking about themselves.
Right.
So my meetings seem to go for about 90 minutes. Normally, I'm the one that winds it up because I've got to where I need to be. And I go, oh, look, I'm just conscious of time. I realize we've gone over the hour. We should probably wrap this up because I know when to end the meeting because I know I've got what I need to move forward.
Here's the next question I have. So our sales are like big, massive, 5, 10, $100 million big exits for people. This is like they have 30, 60, 90 days to go on their sale. They have massive capital gains tax if they don't use our solution. The clock is running out. It's part of why I love it because it's like one of the hardest, most rewarding sales ever when it goes. And I'm thinking, okay, how many of these do I need to get on the plane? And and part of my mindset's like, if I get on the plane, I'm going to meet these people face to face because they're like, our 3 objections are really simple, right? Number one, it sounds too good to be true. Like my legal team, well, you never heard of it. I'm the smartest, best. I got all of these people. They didn't tell me about it. But yeah, that's why you're showing up to me, right? Because they have the solution for you, right? Yeah. But they still need to approve this thing that you're showing up to me, but they didn't have a solution for it. Like you see the breakdown here, right? So that's part of it. Number 2, control. You have some control because I'm the trustee. I'm a third party unrelated trustee. So that's the second one. Number 3, the fees. It's not cheap. It's ongoing fees. You're thinking it's too expensive. These are the 3 major objections to every single one of these things, right? So part of what I'm hearing is cover that all right away, right in the first, 15 minutes of the conversation before I'm even getting into what they have, right? Yeah. And then, at what point do I get on a plane to go meet the people versus the Zoom? Because most of what we do is Zoom, and I don't necessarily want to leave my family, right? But like, if you're going to sell a $50 million business to me, and you've never met me, right? We've closed, we've closed deals, but I just feel like we're losing out if I don't get on a plane. Or do you feel like that's just a secondary thing, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'll give you an honest answer. I don't actually have an opinion on that one. I don't know. I think that's going to come very much down to the individual because everyone is different. So you're selling to an individual. And it's going to be, this may be someone that wants to meet face to face. It needs that personal contact. It could be someone that could do it like this. I think I would try and figure out early on what type of person they are, establish with them. Figure out early on, would you like at some point to physically meet? So I would go through that. It all comes down to the questions you ask on qualifying in and qualifying out. But I don't know if I can't give a scientific answer. I don't think there's any studies.
Okay, but you just ask the question. I mean, that's a good point, right? Hey, would you like someone to physically meet? And if they give a positive response, or if they're kind of neutral, or
in my experience, about 30% of people we do business with, they often don't feel comfortable moving forwards unless they've actually had a face-to-face, sit-down conversation. Can I ask you, would you be in the 30%? I would prefer it if it's okay. That's fine. We can arrange. So when the times are, and that's how you've dealt with it. Get it out of the way. Lance it. This is it. Salespeople just don't do their job. They just don't. They're too busy going and they're trying to impress. And this is what I say. They're trying to convince. They're trying to prove you can help. I'm not here to prove to you. You need Brett's services. Brett knows he's good. Brett's built a huge business doing this. Brett's not here to convince you. You need to convince us why Brett should get on a plane and come all the way to talk to you.
Right. I love that. So now let's move to this part where if you haven't established all of those things and you're in a couple of live deals or you have established those things, but they're still not, they're doing all the things. They're stalling, they're throwing the objections, they're ghosting you, right? Like what do you do to try to get it back to life? Or do you how do you know when to walk away? Or
well, this is it. I think this is it. You got to know when to walk away. No one's ever forgotten to buy, as I always say. When was the last time you forgot to buy something? It doesn't happen. So life can happen. So you've got to be sensitive. Some life can happen and certain things can interfere and it throws it. I get that. So you have to be careful. But it's the walk away. You have to be willing to know when to cut ties. And so I always say, look, if someone didn't get back to me, well, first of all, I've already agreed with them. What happens if I don't hear back from you? Everyone says, oh, no, don't worry, you will. I go, no, I appreciate that. But I also know that life can take over. I'm a salesman and you have no duty or obligation to me. So if I don't hear back from you, should I just assume it's a no, you don't want to move forwards, or should I chase you? Everybody says chase me. I go, okay, how many times should I do that before I give up? And they go, no, just the once. Okay, well, why don't we agree this then? If I don't hear from you as agreed by next Friday, by 4 o'clock, I'll phone you. If I get your voicemail, I'll leave you a message and it's up to me to call me back. Or if I get you, you can give me your answer on what you want to do. Sound fair? They go, yep, that's perfectly fair. Yeah, and I go, but I'll only phone you once. Yeah, can I ask you a question? Do you want me constantly chasing you when deep down we all know what ghosting means? They go, no, I don't. So why do we just do that? So this is for me to know when to walk away. And salespeople don't do this. They keep holding, it's hope. Everything's always hope. That it could come in, it could come in. Well, anything could come in, but you're not in control. Control it. Say, look, the guy's ghosted us. Haven't heard from him for 3 weeks. I've sent him a message. I left him he still hasn't returned our call. So what do you, keep phoning them? If you did that in the real world, had you been on a date with a woman and you were doing that, you'd go to prison. Because it's criminal. It's a form of stalking, right? It's pathetic behavior. But in sales, oh no, he's persistent. He's tenacious. No, he's just a loser.
It's so good. Everyone we're speaking with, UK's most hated sales trainer, but he's not. He's actually the most loved sales trainer, but you love to hate him. And then if you start to hate him, you're going to love him. Take back control of the sales process, salesmatrixcourses.com, salesmatrixcourses.com. We're way out of time and you've been amazing and generous and you've dropped so much value in just 42 minutes and 24 seconds. Is there one last thing that you want to share before we let you go?
Yeah, I'll got a deal for your listeners or viewers. If they Instagram or LinkedIn me and send the word Brett, so we'll use your name, we'll say Brett, I'll send you a link and I'll give you access to a couple of crash courses. Normally I charge $197 for these things, but if you're listening to this, you've got this far and you're interested, a couple of free crash courses, plus I'll let you sit on one of my bi-monthly live Q&A sessions that are exclusive for members of the salesmatrixcourses.com platform. You'll have the option of joining one of those. So if you if you message Brett to Instagram or LinkedIn, I will send you a link. You can sign up, get access to the free courses, and my calendar will also let you book into one of my one-to-ones. And that's a deal I'm going to do.
Boom, I just did it. I'm going to jump in there. I just did it.
I'll send you the link.
By the way, Benjamin, Dennehy. I'll do that again. Benjamin and then Den and again EHY on Instagram. Message the word Brett and get connected with me. Benjamin.
It's free stuff.
Benjamin,
people love free stuff because they can't afford it.
Benjamin, this has been too much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Build to Billions podcast, also streamed on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels. We're here on this journey to scale from millions to billions, so we give more all of it away. We're bringing on amazing people like Benjamin so we can do. Sales is the lifeblood of your business. Take back control of your sales, hire and bring and get into courses with Benjamin so you can too level up your game, so you can help and make a bigger impact for more people. So you can get more all the way to help MVPs. I'm Brett Swartz. He is Benjamin Dennehy, which is kind of a cool name by itself. He's out of the UK. I'm in the US, and we are now friends. And hopefully you're now friends on Instagram with Benjamin as well. God bless everybody. Take care. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye now.